What's the difference between GMT plus 1 Amsterdam and GMT plus 1 Brussels? I live in Vienna. My newly reset Android device just asked me about my time zone and I have multiple options available. Apparently, Windows also offers different GMT plus 1 time zones, so that's not something specific to Android. What's the difference? In particular, what's the difference between Romance Standard Time and Europe Standard Time? According to Wikipedia, they should be the same. And as far as I can remember, Paris and Berlin have always been in the same time zone.
If you only look at the present, many time zones will appear redundant. However, if you look at the past, you will find a lot of differences. As an example, let's look at the source code of the Europe/Biznen, actually a link to Europe/Zurich, and Europe/Berlin time zones. Biznen is a German exclave entirely enclosed within Swiss territory. Europe/Zurich. Europe/Berlin. First and foremost, note how the last line is identical, both use Central European, summer, time today. Everything before that varies wildly. Germany adopted the CST in 1980, while Switzerland did that a year later in 1981. Because of how both the Netherlands and Belgium were affected by the First and Second World War and whatnot, their history is even longer, so I won't include them here. You can download the data and see for yourself. It's a very interesting read because it contains extensive research into the history of timekeeping on many states.
Short answer. You're not selecting Amsterdam GMT plus 1. You're selecting Amsterdam, which at the moment is GMT plus 1. The display of the absolute time offset is just a useful indicator of what your selection practically means today, but it doesn't define the selection you're making. If you choose Amsterdam and Amsterdam's time zone later changes separately to Brussels's, your computer will track Amsterdam specifically.
Deciding what zones to have in a time zone database is a compromise between keeping the number of zones and overall DB size reasonable, providing accurate conversions for historical timestamps, minimizing the need for reconfiguration in the face of future changes to the definition of civil time. The TZ database, used by pretty much every OS vendor except Microsoft, defines a time zone as a national region where local clocks have all agreed since 1970. So generally, there have been some exceptions surrounding historical countries that split. Places in different countries will get different time zone names even if they have had the same local time since 1970. Each zone is generally identified by its region and main city. There are some exceptions. Pre-1970 data attempts to be accurate for the main city in the zone, but a zone will only be split if there is a post-1970 difference. Some platforms may hide some minor zones by default, but that doesn't seem to be the case here. Your list is missing major zones like Vienna and Berlin. Based on your list, I wonder if it is a localization thing. Maybe they assume people in German-speaking countries will be using the German build of the OS. MS does their own thing on time zones. I do not know what their criteria are for deciding whether something is in the same zone or not, but I expect it is something along the lines of places that have had different local time since Windows started supporting time zones.
Something else to keep in mind is daylight savings. One city might have daylight saving enabled while another city on the same longitude, and thus the same time zone, but closer to the equator will not have daylight savings enabled.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.